This video is about Nduja, and we're gonna show you 3 different ways to eat it. This smells amazing. That's perfect. That's so good. I can't wait for you to try this. My name is Kenny Minton, and I'm the chef over at Coperta in the uptown neighborhood of Denver. You're probably wondering what Nduja is. It's a spreadable, spicy pork salumi. It kind of originated as this idea of giving the peasants scraps, and when refrigeration didn't exist, you had to kind of cover up the taste of the pork that's going bad. So Italians, in their infinite wisdom, decided to hit it with a bunch of chilies to mask that flavor profile. Now flash forward a couple hundred years, and you get something that is more refined and significantly more expensive than feeding the peasants. You want to know how Nduja is made? So you start by taking pork belly with a bunch of chilies. In this case, you use Calabrian chilies, some paprika, and salt. That's pretty simply what it is. You allow it to ferment for a couple days, and then you grind it. So you let it marinate, grind it, and then you hang it from there and let it do its thing. 6 months later, you're left with a very soft salumi. Because of its high fat content, it'll never actually solidify. So what's left is this perfectly spreadable salumi. Chili's really up front. It's definitely on the spicy side for the Italian cuisine. You get a nice level of funkiness because it is still cured pork without it being adulterated by any other flavor profile in there. There's no garlic, there's no fennel seed. It's just straight chilies to mask the flavor of the pork. So when you look at a lot of Italian cuisine, and if you find spicy food, chances are it's originating from Sicily and Calabria. A lot of that has to do with the fact that every conquering empire has conquered them. So you get a lot of international influence over cuisine. And Nduja is definitely one of those. We've used Nduja all over our menu years ago. We made it into like a vinaigrette and tossed it with some Brussels sprouts and blue cheese and did like a version of like,
I don't know what
I dipped it. I dipped my finger into the Nduja, and I was about to pull it up and be like, Nduja finger. We took Nduja and turned it into a vinaigrette, tossed it with some Brussels sprouts and some blue cheese, and kind of did like a play on like Italian buffalo wings of sorts. Interpretations of Nduja. So we've made an aioli with all the flavors that are involved. So think you're like chilies and your smoked paprika in there. And to imitate the like fermentation funk of it, we've used a little bit of red miso and some garlic to kind of pull through and keep it pescatarian, to toss with like shrimp on top of some toast with some smoked green tomatoes. It's been in pastas, it's been on salumi boards, it's been in sauces that we have emulsified the Nduja into a chicken stock to make a like spicy pork sauce for a steak or a pork chop. It's pretty versatile and can go just about everywhere. There's 3 easy ways that you can use Nduja. You can use a spoon and just eat it as is. You can throw it into some pasta with a little bit of corn and lemon juice and make like an Italian riff on pasta and corn elotes. If you're feeling really adventurous, you can pop open some oysters, throw some Nduja on top, throw it into the oven, and then garnish it with a little bit of cucumber and lemon. It's pretty versatile. Anywhere that you would use pork, you can use Nduja. It was a big bite. So there's a lot more subtleties in this one when it's in its raw form. It's definitely spicier. It does the olive oil bite, whereas like if you have a really nice olive oil, it like kind of kicks you in the back of the throat. Kind of has that same process because of how hot it is, how rich in fat content it is. It doesn't really give you a break. Like it just stays spicy. So normally you'll find this as like an addition to like a charcuterie board. Just kind of as is. You can just kind of scoop it, spread it on some bread. It's a spreadable pork salumi is what we call it at the restaurant. Really high in fat content, so it never actually like fully seizes up like you would find your salumis. Just makes it a lot more spreadable as long as you leave it out and temper for a long enough time. We took some East Coast oysters from Hollywood, Maryland, and baked them off with a little bit of Nduja. And once they came out of the oven, we garnished them with a little bit of lemon and cucumber. Whenever you're shucking oysters, you want to dump out the initial liquid. It'll end up refilling itself, and you just get a cleaner oyster flavor. So the Nduja will render out a little bit and add a little bit of fat to the oyster. Yeah. Yeah. Nduja adds a nice amount of heat. You get the nice melon from the cucumber and the oyster coming through together. It's fresh. I think this will hit the menu. That's perfect. That's so good. I can't wait for you to try this. So anything that's spicy, you want to like try and pull it down as much as you can. Even if you like spicy, you need something that's gonna like make it fresh. And cucumber is the easy way to do that.
Yes. I forgot how spicy it is, too.
Yeah, Nduja's got some heat to it. Italian cuisine doesn't have much chili in it. You find it predominantly in like Sicily and Calabria, hence Calabrian chilies. But predominantly, you don't see much spice in Italian cuisine. If you can find a way to make seafood and spicy pork taste bad, come to 400 East 20th Avenue and we'll help you out. Let's call it a riff on elotes. So we took a ricotta cavatelli and tossed that with Nduja, sweet corn, a little bit of butter, lemon, and mint. So whatever we're cooking with Nduja, we want to try and render out the fat and start to almost like caramelize or build like a fond on the bottom of the pan, just to kind of get everything working. Brings out some of the more subtle flavors. And there's just so much fat in it that you won't really get it crispy. It just kind of builds those flavors. So whenever I'm working with something spicy, especially with Italian cuisine, I like to use mint. I think mint is a nice refresher in spicy food, similar to the shellfish and spicy pork or seafood and spicy pork. Mint and spicy go very well together. This is a spoon pasta. That's elotes, but Italian. So Cavatelli is always going to be a little more toothsome. This is basically just like flour, ricotta, and egg kneaded together, and then we roll it out. And like it's chocolate mint specifically. So instead of it being that like super bright peppermint or like spearmint, you get some more of those like earthy flavor profiles in there. I think that's where like the name chocolate mint comes into play. I mean, you have a bunch of Salumerias all over the United States that are making some really good Nduja. The best one that I have found is coming out of New York from a Salumeria called Salumeria Biellese. They've been operating since 1925. And they're one of a very small handful of salumerias in the United States that are allowed to use old world techniques and not use something called lactic acid starter culture. And you can taste the difference. The texture is different, the flavor is different. They essentially said, screw you to the federal government and won. A study came out when they first moved to the US from the Piedmont region of Italy, and the FDA basically said, you have to use lactic acid starter culture or you can't sell salumi in the United States. They went to the courts and said that their grandfathers and ancestors would roll over in their graves if they found out that that's what they were doing. Went to the scientists that did the study for the FDA, dropped a big sack of money on his front doorstep and said, do a study on our salumi. Flash forward, scientist does a study and finds out that it's actually perfectly safe. And so the family went to the federal government and brought the scientist with them and said, if this guy was fine with us doing this and he was the one that did the study for the FDA, why can't we do this? So the government said, okay, that's fine. But for the next 5 years, you're going to produce salumi and not sell it. And we are going to test it every year to see if it's safe. Flash forward another 5 years, and come to find out everything was perfectly safe. And now they're allowed to use old world techniques to make salumis. And the quality is vastly different. Oh, by the way, that all happened 100 years ago. 100 years ago. It's 2025, guys. Our target audience is 2 people. Anytime if it like stagnates and you don't see it climbing much and it jumps like 5 views in a week, it was my mom 5 times. Hi.